Okay, so we'll just continue with the Aeolian environment, the next, second to last for the terrestrial environment. So we've already established how Aeolian environments or how deserts and steppes are created. Again, either through equatorial lows or in equatorial lows, and if you have mountains, that could be due to a rain shadow effect. Okay. Yeah. So for the Aeolian environment, as you can imagine, the only agent there, so dry nga siya, so the dominant agent, and almost the only agent that is available is actually wind. Okay, so wind contributes by basically picking up sediments or dust-sized sediments from the ground and then hurling it either to a rock face if meron, or just simply carrying that sediments or that material as suspension in the air. So that process of erosion of ground when it's dry and loose, uh, basically by lifting and blowing it away, is what we call deflation. And yung sinabi ko kanina, if we have sediment loaded or sand loaded na air, it can hurl those sediments to available or to present rock surfaces in the process of what we refer to as abrasion or sandblasting. So ito yung pinaka-dominant way how mechanical weathering occurs in aeolian environments. Basically, the rock surface is shaped by constant impact of grains, which is driven or which is being transported by wind. Yan. So, yung material naman that is too fine-grained and therefore basically hindi siya na to transport or na deposit easily, tuloy-tuloy lang yung kanyang transportation, usually ends up being transported as suspension all the way to uh to the much farther away, for example, in the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific, even crossing yung oceans natin all the way to the United States, for example. And this is what we refer to as lowest or less. Itong lowest or less, these are basically yung sediments, wind-blown sediments coming from deserts, which are transported to very far distances. In some environments or in some biological environments, this provides necessary nutrients for planktons. So it causes algal blooms, which are of course the building block of some ecosystems. So it's important. In others, they just resolve to reddish or more reddish na sunset because of the reflection of sunlight by the windblown dust. Okay, so yun yung list. So again, the transportation of sediments is by saltation and suspension mostly. Unconsolidated, sorry, this is malita. This should be desert pavements. Desert pavements are unconsolidated, unstratified aggregation of small angular mineral fragments, as you will see later. I-edit ko na. Wait lang ah. And so, okay, so let's see kung ano yung mga effects or structures related to this environment. So the first one is what we refer to as blowouts. So blowouts are basically depressions along the desert floor, and basically this happens when you have wind blowing away sediments, and then roots of trees or plants or naturally moist areas holding on to sediments, resulting to depressions like this on the desert floor. So these are what we refer to as blowouts. At the same time, you can also experience, or we can also see what we refer to as desert pavements. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. So desert pavements are closely packed layer of coarse particles. Usually, basically, there are two competing models, or there are two ways, basically, how we can create desert pavements. The first one is, if imagine you have this mix of coarse and fine sediments, and then the wind picks up only the fine sediments because that's its capacity lang. Yun lang yung kaya niyang buhatin. Competence pala. It has a low competence, meaning maliit lang yung size that it can carry, maximum size that it can carry. Okay, eventually leaving behind coarse sediments, and those coarse sediments are what is referred to as desert pavements. Okay, on the other hand, pwede rin actually na baliktad. Instead of fine sediments being taken out, actually the fine sediments may be actually the ones being deposited. And then, itong mga fine sediments na to, since meron kang mesh essentially of coarse material, yung fine sediments can start trickling pababa and then eventually pushing yung coarse sediments like a shield, like a barrier, protecting yung mga finer materials natin like so. So there are two competing models, or there are two ways essentially how desert pavements are formed. But yeah, in either case, anyway, desert pavements are a common structure or sedimentary structure linked or associated with Aeolian environment. Next is ventifacts and yardungs. Ventifacts are basically yung process kanina na you have sediments being blown by wind, and this wind-blown sediments are hurled against any rock surface that is available, and that results to very smooth surface or polished stones, polishing by abrasion, basically. So those polished rocks are what we refer to as ventifacts. Over a course of millions of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years, geologically speaking, even large rock fragments or outcrops, large exposures of rocks can be shaped through this process of abrasion. And these wind sculpted landforms tend to reflect yung direction of wind. So for example, if the wind is coming from the left, picks up sediments, hurls it to the rock, eventually we end up with this very smooth surface showing us or telling us where exactly the maximum energy of the wind is. So dito yon. Pagdating dito, de-deposit niya lahat ng sediments, or rather i-hurl niya yung sediments na yon dito sa rock face natin. But after this, beyond this point, wala nang enough sediments to cause substantial weathering and erosion dito sa part naman na to ng rock. So you end up with this streamlined meaning reflects the wind direction, rocks reflecting yung prevailing wind direction. Okay? So yun yung erosion, weathering and erosion apart. How about deposition? Deposition in deserts are usually in the form of dunes. So dunes are basically yung dunes yung very very classic na appearance na or representation ng Aeolian or ng deserts is of course dunes. These are the ridges or the mounds, which is basically just composed of sand. Okay? So itong sand na to is basically deposited as wind is basically slowing down, and they result to what we refer to as cross bedding. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Here you have wind moving from west to east. Okay, pag ganyan, west to east. So the wind picks up sediments from this side, and then picks up sediments from this side, and then deposits it dito sa other side. So this side is what we refer to as the stoss side. Okay, and then this side, maliit na side, is what we refer to as the lee side. Okay, stoss and lee. Again, stoss yung mahaba, mas mahabang side nung stoss yung mas mahabang side nitong dune, and then lee side yung mas maliit. Okay? So, sorry, isulat ko na lang din dito. So again, this is the stoss side, yung mahaba, and then this is the lee side, and then stoss, and then lee. Stoss, and then lee. Yan. So what if the wind direction changes? What if we run this simulation? So As you can see from here, STOS, Lee, STOSI, eventually, magko-coincide na yung STOS side ng isang dun sa STOS side ng isa pang dun, resulting to this overlapping crossbed structure. So this is first one of the reasons why you can't build any permanent structures in dunes, because they are constantly moving, ever so slowly, of course, but they are moving based on the prevailing wind direction. So kung wind direction is papunta dito, the dunes eventually will travel from here all the way papunta dito. Okay? Yan. What if the wind direction changes, however? If the wind direction changes, however, then the STOS and lee side reverses itself. So, yung ito na yung bale yung STOS side natin, ito na yung lee side natin, because this is where the wind is picks up the sediments, and this is where the wind deposits that sediment, and hence you result, or we end up with this cross beds with a different deep direction, or with a different direction than the rest of the uh, earlier dunes. If you look at this example from the this is from I think this is from the kalimutan ko na. Anyway, these are ancient Aeolian deposits, and as you can see, the wind direction is prevalently like so. So ibig sabihin west to east for this one, west to east, ganun din. Pero pagdating dito sa pinakataas, bumaliktad siya. Naging east to west siya. Papunta dito. Tapos, eventually, bumalik siya ulit sa dati. Pag ganyan na naman sila. So, west to east na naman. So, depende lang sa wind direction, nagbabago-bago yung ating dunes. Geomorphologically, we can further characterize kung anong type of dune or ano yung shape ng dune, usually reflecting kung ano yung prevailing conditions. Barkan dunes, these are crescent-shaped dunes. Basically, ito yung discussion natin kanina na meron ka lang one wind direction, pero however, the sediment supply or the sand supply is not that much, moderate amount of sand lang available. Transverse dunes are basically coalesce na Barkan dunes. So this happens when you have a large amount or a huge amount of sediments, meaning a huge amount of sand, abundant supply of sand, and a constant wind direction. So magkamukha lang yung shape ng Barkan and transverse, as you will see later. Yung transverse lang is basically more sediments, and therefore, in this na individual mounds, you just have a ridge of dune. Linear dunes, on the other hand, are long, straight dunes, and these are formed when you have two sediments, or hindi pala two sediments, two wind directions which converge to one another, and therefore sedimentation happens along that line kung saan nag-meet yung dalawang wind directions natin. Parabolic dunes or U-shaped dunes naman na baliktad yung orientation nila with respect to the wind direction, kasi for example, kung yung wind is coming this way, depositing, kunwari pag ganyan siya, wind is papunta sa inyo, so ang mangyayari, dito yung STOS side niya sa akin and then lee side sa inyo. So dyan siya magde-deposit. Okay? And eventually, the wind direction will be, or the the shape of the dune will be para siya yung concavity ng dune faces basically away from the wind direction. So dito yung wind direction, or dito yung wind direction papunta sa inyo. Hindi pa, tama, yung concavity faces faces away from the wind direction. So papunta dyan. Kapag parabolic, baliktad. So dito yung wind direction papunta pa rin sa inyo, but the shape is, or yung concavity faces the wind direction. And these are usually formed in coastal areas, as you will see later. Okay? And basically, this happens when you have wind, or when you have abundant vegetation and moisture, basically preventing yung typical na formation ng or shape ng dunes. And then finally, star dunes, if you have multiple dominant wind direction or varying wind direction, so that walang one particular direction parallel or perpendicular to which oriented yung ating dunes. So this is how they look like. Again, ito yung Barkan dune and transverse dune. So you can see, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, if wind is coming from here to here, so ito yung side niya. Ito yung lee side niya. Yan. So, pag maraming sediments, pag sobrang daming sediments, then basically the dunes can be coalescing together into what we refer to as transverse dunes. Barcanoid is even more sediments than transverse dunes, so parang Barcan. And then you also have longitudinal dunes when you have two wind directions. Ito yung sinasabi nyo kanina, two wind directions, and therefore the collision point, yun yung kung saan nagko-converge yung two wind directions natin. Parabolic, pagka along coast and pag maraming puno, basically hindi siya super dry and therefore the shape of ito pa rin daw yung stow side niya, ito pa rin yung lee side niya, pwede pa rin yung side of the position, but yung arms, kumbaga, nung dune is facing the opposite direction as Barcan or as Barcanoid or as transverse. And then star happens when you have multiple wind directions. Okay? So, since wind lang yung nagka-transport, wind lang yung nagde-deposit, highly dependent on the sediments or highly dependent on sediment size yung yung I mean, since highly dependent on wind energy rather yung ating sediment size. And because of that, they tend to have very well sorted deposit. Very well sorted meaning isang size lang ng sediments yung na-transport and yung nade-deposit niya precisely because it's just wind. Hindi siya parang water, for example, river flowing along a river in which it can carry both large and fine sediments. Yung wind can only carry the finest of sediments. And they tend to have cross beds or planar structure, as we've discussed before. And then also yung mga ventifacts, yardungs na pwede ma-preserve within the sediment record itself. Okay? Finally, in terms of fossils, compared to other environments, we expect very poor preservation or very hindi pala very poor preservation, very good preservation of fossils in the process of mummification. However, since this is a low vegetation environment, low humidity, a low water scarce environment in the first place, posibleng wala masyadong nakatira sa Aeolian environments. Meron pa din, as you know, some species have of course adapted to dry environments, but they would be far less in terms of abundance compared to tropical rainforests, for example, where, of course, tropical rainforests, because of the humidity, because of the chemical and physical weathering, you have worse preservation pero more samples that can be preserved. Okay? So balik na dito sa Aeolian Desert. So from something very hot to something very cold. Glacial environments naman on the other hand. Yun next natin pag-uusapan. Glacial environments or basically here, kung kanina wind yung nag-deposit, glacial environments, mostly ice naman yung nag-weather, nag-transport, and nag-deposit. So a glacier is a thick ice mass that is moving slowly, centimeters per day. And these glaciers are formed basically when you have snow accumulating, compacting, and recrystallizing during winter, and then melting during summer. If the amount of snow that is deposited is greater than the amount of snow that is molten during summer, then you have net accumulation and therefore glacier. Okay. This diagram also illustrates how ice moves along a glacier, or how glaciers move rather along a plain. So yung pinakataas, basically it's like rotational motion. You have here the base just flowing, rotating and flowing very slowly because essentially of gravity. Dito sa mas gentle na slope, you have a more plastic flow. And then basically, yung pinakataas naman na part, hindi, sorry. Yung base na slip, sorry, ano yan siya? Hindi siya, anyway, cross-section siya. So, yung pinakababa niya is basically basal slip. So, nagda-drag lang siya papunta sa, nagda-drag lang yung ice against the basement rock. Okay? So, dito rin nag-arise yung isa sa mga characteristic textures or characteristic properties ng glacial deposits. Yung what we refer to as, dito ba siya? Ayan. So parang yung kanina, yung parang yung wind natin, meron ding abrasion na nangyayari sa glacial environments. But this time, the abrasion, which also results to smoothened surface like this, or surfaces with grooves like this, yan, yung mga lines na yan, this abrasion is because of the ice directly polishing yung rock face sa ilalim niya, kung saan siya gumagalaw, or along the basal slip, or kunwari may naka-stick out na bato dun sa base ng ating glacier, kinuha niya somewhere else, that rock will be dragged by the ice, and as it is being dragged, pwede siya mag-leave nitong grooves as can be seen here. Yan. So ito yung glacial erosion na process. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na yung basically yung when you think of glaciers, you can think of it as parang bulldozers. So they pick up anything that is in front of them. Okay? At its base, yung ice moves by basal slip against the rock surface. And then yung nasa gitna na section ng ice, it flows in a plastic manner. So solid pero actively deforming ever so slowly. And then finally, yung pinakataas, essentially all the other materials are being carried as piggyback. Okay? The cracks in the surface or the shallowest portion of glaciers are what we call crevasses. Okay? And so let's imagine a glacier coming from here and from here, okay? And then as it is moving down slope, it also drags whatever materials is present dito sa may floor, dun sa may walls, sa floor and also sa walls ng mountain. And dinadrag niya yun therefore papunta dito, yan. Eventually, when it encounters another glacier, meron din siyang sediments na kinuha from the sides ng mountain. Eventually, those two unite to form these parang linear structures of sediments being transported. Okay? And kailan kaya magde-deposit yung glacier? Well, magde-deposit yung glacier once the glacier retreats. Ibig sabihin, kapag kulang na yung amount ng snow na so solidify during winter, compared to the amount that is being molten during summer, slowly the ice basically thaws, and as it thaws, the glacier retreats. So as it retreats, parang bulldozer nga, as it retreats, it leaves behind anything that it picked up along the way. Yan. Okay? So there are two ways, or there are, parang yung deserts natin kanina, there are two reasons why we have glacial environments. The first one is, of course, or the largest one, is of course yung coldest regions of the Earth, the North and South Pole. So the North and South Poles, by the way, glaciers only grow in continents. Okay? They can extend to sea, but not too much. Okay? So for example, in the North Pole, most of the ice are actually preserved not in the pole itself, but on the continents such as Greenland, and then of course, North America, Canada, and of course, Russia region. Yan. So andito lang, yung Arctic Circle. Dito siya sa mga continents mostly. They can extend further into the sea, but not that much during winter, syempre. That's more obvious here. When you look at Antarctica, so sa Antarctica, yung South Pole, of course, andito yung ice shelf natin, yan, sa continent itself. Sometimes, or for the most part, it extends further out into the sea, yan. Ito yung ating marine ice. Kapag pag natibag to, and it starts flowing sa dagat, yun yung tinatawag nating icebergs. Okay? But in general, ang point ko lang dito is that glaciers dominantly grow on continents. Kasi nga naman, kapag nag-snow sa dagat, syempre, yung tubig na yun eventually starts to melt. So, nag-accumulate lang yung snow natin and therefore yung glaciers natin sa continents. So that is what we refer to as continental ice sheets. They are large scale than valley glaciers, They occupy 10% of the Earth's landmass. Presently, kasi tayo ay nasa glacial period actually. And ice shelves and the ice shelves, on the other hand, are basically extensions of the ice sheets papunta sa sea, but they are limited in size. Okay? Yan. So, poles, yun yung first location ng ating glaciers. Second location is, of course, kapag the elevation is high enough for, again, the snow to be accumulated during winter and not molten during summer. So, for example, yung nasa Himalayas. Himalayas, of course, is near the equator, pero the elevation is so high, above 8,000 meters, such that snow actually accumulates during every year rather. Okay? So yun yung tinatawag nating valley or alpine type glaciers. They are these glaciers exist in high elevation mountain tops, occupying valleys as streams of ice bounded by steep rock walls. So the valley glaciers can be long or short, narrow or wide, single or branching tributaries, just like a river. So para lang siyang river but frozen, of course. So there are two ways the glaciers pick up their sediments. So kanina yung wind, it's mostly by siltation and suspension. Siltation yung tumatalon, suspension yung nasa air lang siya, or nasa wind lang siya rather. Yung glaciers naman glaciers mostly transport their material as traction. So nasa buhat-buhat niya lang or being dragged along the valley floor. So if may madaanan siyang rock fragments or if may nakaharang na rock fragments or na rock material, they can pluck those sediments, loosening it and lifting of sediments of all sizes from silt all the way to boulders. And eventually, once the glacier retreats or once the glacier starts to melt, it retreats, it dumps everything into what we refer to as glacial drift. Glacial drift is basically unsorted sediments. It's unsorted kasi, sabi ko nga, from silt size or clay size material all the way to boulders, sama-sama niya yung tina-transport, and then as it retreats, it just dumps everything on site. Okay? So yun yung glacial drift. Yung surface mismo ng glacial valley floor or glacier valley floor is smoothened, as discussed before, because of abrasion. So let's compare a river from the ocean, from the glaciers rather. Yung rivers natin, they form what we refer to small V-shaped valleys, as you can see from here. On the other hand, yung glaciers natin forms large U-shaped, very wide valleys like so. Okay. Once the glacier retreats, we can end up with very haunting structures like this, hanging valleys. Yeah. You see this falls. So you can see here that the valley is basically bigla na lang sudden drop in the topography, and that sudden drop was actually because of a glacier that once moved there and basically bulldozed everything along the path. Right? Yung logo ng Toblerone, that's a horn. And yung horn na yun is basically formed because of glaciers eroding the three valley floors. Para siyang yung radial drainage pattern ng rivers, but ice. So the difference is that with ice, it can carry anything. It can scour everything from fine to coarse material. Okay. And then, of course, as it transports the material or the ice and the material along the valley floors, these are basically just like the tributaries. Remember, ito yung tributaries sa rivers natin. So they leave behind this very sharp razor-like peaks, which we refer to as arêtes. Okay. Yeah, arêtes. Marami pang structures like Paternoster Lake or the Rosary. Parang siyang rosary daw na lakes. And these rosary-like lakes are basically localized depressions, and the depressions is basically made by the moving glacier at that time. Yung arêtes, yung razor-like mountain tops natin. Yung horn pala, mountain sides. and yung horn, yung mountain tops. Okay? Yan. When the glacier meets the sea, that's when we have fjords, FJORDS, fjords. Yan, like so. So ito, hindi na yan marine water lang. Ano lang to, mix marine and fresh water. Yan. So ito for example sa Sweden and Finland. Ganyan yung mga fjords nila. And then of course, ito nga yung sinasabi ko. This is a horn. It represents the valley top. And so at one point, all of this was covered in glaciers. Ito lang yung mountain top na natitira. Yan. So yung ridges of sediments na transport ng glaciers natin as it is being transported is what we refer to as moraines. Yung moraines can be medial or lateral. Medial kapag nasa gitna, to gaya nito. So mga to, yan yung mga medial moraines. Basically from the discussion kanina, the medial moraines, ayan, this moraine here, sorry, yan na natin. Discard. Yan natin. Oh, sorry. Ulit. Yan. So, ito yung mga lateral moraines natin, yan, na nasa gilid. And then, as they become transported for the downslope, yung mga itong lateral, yan. Itong lateral moraines natin eventually becomes medial moraines. Yan, nagpumunta sila dito sa gitna. Okay, but anyway, they just represent loose sediments of all sizes, from silt rather, to boulders, which we refer to as till. Okay? Till, again, so sorry, ang dami ng terms. Till, yung amount, yung tawag doon sa sediments sa dinedeposit niya. Moraine, yung tawag doon sa structure, yung structure na to. Yan. Which is basically showing in transportation of steel. Yung moraines can be further subdivided into lateral and medial moraines. But at the end of the glaciers, kung saan nga yung face ng bulldozer, it can also resolve to what we refer to as end moraine. So yung end moraine basically shows us kung hanggang saan lang umabot yung um, kung saan lang umabot yung ating um, glaciers. Okay? Um, and then other structures include eskers, tame, uh, drumlin fields. Hindi ko na siya itatanong sa exam, but just so you know, yung eskers and drumlin fields, and drumlin fields, these are basically itong mga submarine-like na mga rocks na to, which is basically shaped by the moving by the moving ice rather. So yung moving ice natin eroded all the surrounding materials, leaving behind just this submarine-like structure. So that's what we refer to as a drumlin field. Eskers naman, on the other hand, are ridges. Basically, they represent, again, as you can see from the sinuosity of this one, this was once a river transporting sediments from the retreating glacier. Okay? And then kame, these are basically small round moraines. So they are also depositional. Localized depressions can also have, can be preserved as kettle lakes, or kapag nasa mountains, pwede siyang yung tinatawag natin kanina na paternoster. So, paternoster. Cirques pala, by the way, cirques yung parang mga colosseum. So, siya yung mga parang circular depressions kung saan once located yung head ng glacier natin. So, dati dito yung start ng glacier, pababa. Okay? Yan. So, ito na yung sinasabi kanina, till yung deposit or yung sediments that were being transported, or loose sediments that were being transported by the glacier. Pag naging bato siya, tillite. So, compared to Aeolian environment, kung kanina yung Aeolian is very well sorted, only one size, sand size lang yung deposit niya. Yung tillite is the exact opposite of that. It is composed of very poorly sorted, very angular materials, characterized by or comprised of fine, so mud size, all the way to boulder size precisely because the glacier just don't care kung ano mang size yung dadalhin niya. Lahat lang na nasa harapan, bibigpitin niya. Right? It's poorly sorted. Yeah, poorly sorted. Furthermore, yung stratified drift natin, stratified drift naman on the other hand, these are large boulders. Sorry. So, tilite siya yung dineposit directly ng directly ng glacier. Yung stratified drift, ito naman yung dineposit ng glacial meltwater. So, yung kaninang esker. So, yung esker natin, since water yung nag-deposit sa kanya, mas may sorting, but the materials is also very polished because of the abrasion ng glaciers. It can also be variable in size, but mas well sorted compared to tilite. And at the same time, it's stratified, meaning may layers siya. So the layers are, of course, because the transporting agent is water. So it's fluvial-like or river-like deposit, but the clasts are polished. So that is what we refer to as stratified drift. And then finally, you have these rock boulders existing out of nowhere. Kita nyo naman dito, very flat yung area, tapos biglang meron kang malaking boulder gaya nito. This was transported, of course, by glaciers, and this is what we refer to as erratics. Erratic, ERRATIC anyway. Erratic. Parang heretic. Yan. Erratics. Ang malaking boulder na no. Yan. So itong unstratified na to, na halo-halo siya. And as you can see, smooth yung surface niya. Smooth yung surface ng mga fragments na to. These are basically, this is a teal sa ngayon. Hindi pa siya bato. Pero once it turns into a rock, it becomes a tealite. Yeah. Okay, so you can end there for now. I-continue ko ulit ito maya-maya. May meeting lang kami. So this is, tapos na tayo sa terrestrial environments. We will now be moving on to transitional and then eventually marine environment. Okay, thank you.